Hi guys, this is Brittany from Montreal Healthy Girl, and today I wanted to talk a little bit about the 5 most inflammatory foods that we're eating regularly that could be contributing to our disease, and what are some great alternatives to have instead. So the first, there are obviously the typical processed foods, any packaged foods, foods with additives, synthetic ingredients, like that, everybody already knows that. But I wanted to talk more in specific about a lot of foods that are within foods that we eat or things that we think are healthy that might be contributing to inflammation in the body. So the first, number 1 inflammatory food are bad fats. They are in a lot of foods that we eat. Most people don't even realize they're eating bad fats because they've been touted as being healthy for you. Bad fats mean overly processed, heavily heated, often rancid fats that are from GMO-derived oils such as any margarine or any butter substitute is really unhealthy for you, very toxic, and an unnatural man-made fat and should be avoided. Canola oil, safflower oil, soy oil, corn oil, any of those GMO-derived plant oils are often heavily processed and heated to temperatures that actually make the oils unstable, and they're left on shelves for a really long time. They're often rancid by the time you get them, and they're just really not what you should be consuming if you want to minimize inflammation in your body, you want to heal, you want to feed your body what it really needs. So great alternatives to that are coconut oil, extra virgin. Organic is of course always better, less pesticide residues and things like that. Or you want to do the extra virgin olive oil. These are both heavy anti-inflammatory oils. They're really great for the system. They're wonderful. They contain like phytonutrients that are really good for you, healthy fats that cleanse the liver. Like coconut oil is antibacterial, antiparasitic, antiviral. It's great for regulating digestion. It boosts the metabolism by 25% after you consume it. It can replace butter or margarine in all baked goods, and you really can't tell the difference. It's delicious. So those are great oils to have instead. Number 2, the most inflammatory food, most of you know this, and that is sugar and all sugar-related substances. So that means anything ending in ose, high fructose, corn syrup, glucose, fructose, like synthetic fructose-derived ingredients. There's a lot of like corn syrups, anything with syrup, maltodextrin, any of those things. They're like sugar-derived foods, and they're often from sugar beets or GMO corn or different genetically modified plants. You really don't want to be consuming those. They're really hard on the pancreas. They increase fat storage in the body. They're very toxic, and there have been strong links to a lot of diseases with high sugar concentrations, like heart diseases there's often a huge link with high sugar consumption in a diet. If you want a natural sweetener, things that are a little bit better, I would suggest going for raw honeys, manuka honey, which has medicinal properties. You can always do maple syrup. It's less synthetic. It's less processed, so it's a very natural sugar. It still contains some minerals. There is cocoa palm sugar, which is really rich in B vitamins, and it's a less processed sugar. There's date sugar, which is very alkaline, so that could be a great sweetener as well. The third food I wanted to mention, something that we eat quite a bit, is actually dairy. A lot of people think that, the dairy industry works really hard to convince us that dairy is really high in calcium, that it's great for your body, that it helps build bones. And all of that is a little bit of a misconception. Dairy is, if there's any food that you should avoid of all of the list, dairy would probably be one of the top ones, and the reason for it is it's very, very inflammatory. Dairy produces a lot of mucus within the body, even for people that aren't lactose intolerant. It's a very congesting type of substance. It increases constipation, it feeds pathogenic overgrowths in the intestines, it contributes to mucoid plaque, which is like fermentation and encrusted fecal matter in the colon, which really makes a friendly, hospitable environment for things like parasites and worms, like all those things that you really don't want inside your body. So it would be really great to a great alternative to dairy, if you're still into, creamy foods and you really want something similar, is to go for like raw organic sprouted nut milks. This can be had with granola. You can do almond milk, there's cashew milk, walnut milk, a bunch of really great alternatives. If you want, creamy foods, you could always do avocado. You can mash avocado in your pasta with garlic. It tastes just like Alfredo sauce, give or take a bit, and it's a lot less inflammatory for you. So the fourth food that I wanted to talk about that's not really that great for you is conventional meat. Now, that's not to say I'm not touting raw veganism here. I understand that meat consumption can play a role in a healthy diet, but that definitely does not include conventional meat that contains antibiotics and where the animals are inhumanely treated, they're kept in unsanitary conditions, they're slaughtered in inhumane ways that produces a lot of fear in the animals, so adrenaline is spewed out into their tissues, they're in very small and cage environments where they're not really given enough like space for sanitation, and so there are a lot of like, you know, bacterial problems and fungal problems and parasitic problems amongst the meat that we're eating. Plus it's often been dyed, and then there's, you know, problems with potential meat glue and all of these things. It's really not the ideal thing to be eating. If you are going to go for meat, go for, you know, wild game, do the grass-fed meats, meats where animals are free range eggs. These things are a lot more natural. There's higher omega-3 content. There's a lot of plant-based nutrients if the animal was eating a plant-based diet, which cows are supposed to be eating. And conventional meat also contains a lot of genetically modified byproducts from the very fatty grain-based GMO feed that they're given, and all of this contributes to a very toxic internal environment, and you want to avoid it as much as possible. The fifth thing I wanted to talk about is something you are all going to hate me for, and yes, I know I'm being a party pooper, but alcohol. Alcohol is the fifth thing you should avoid. Nothing, I admit it, nothing is better than having a delicious, crisp glass of wine with a tasty meal, but that is the glutton in us and not what our bodies and cells really need. Alcohol, when it's metabolized, produces byproducts that are extremely toxic for the body. They damage beneficial bacteria in your gut, paving the way for pathogenic overgrowths and diseases and gut imbalances. They overburden those byproducts overburden the liver, which already works really hard. It's very hard on the pancreas. It causes digestive abnormalities. It causes fermentation in the gut, which causes gas and irritation. And I mean, there's no cell in your body that doesn't feel the toxic effects of alcohol. So it really should be avoided. Great alternatives to alcohol, if you're, you know, going to a bring your own wine dinner and you want something that's tasty, you can always go buy yourself a bottle of, you know, kombucha. Cuirassance makes a great one. I go and I buy myself the mint chlorophyll, and, you know, it's bubbly and it's delicious and you can't even tell that it isn't wine. So that's what I wanted to talk about today, and I really hope that that helps everybody, you know, keep track a little bit more of the things that they're doing that are contributing to their poor health. And I wish everybody a fun and safe summer.